So I'm finally releasing my multi-band sidechain effect rack. This is my go-to for anything sidechaining. I use this in all my projects. I use this for everything. It has been my go-to. It's been a huge time saver and has been a game changer for me. So I know it's going to be a game changer for you. Check it out. Let's jump right into it. So this is it right here. Now, don't be intimidated by the layout. It's really simple to use. Even if you don't know too much about compression or sidechaining, this is going to simplify everything for you. Everything's color-coded, everything's labeled. I made this really user-friendly. You just got to input a few different things and you'll be good to go. So the way it works is you have your low frequency, your mid frequency, and your high frequency. You have 3 different bands, and each band comes with its own compressor. Check it out. So you have your multi-band engine right here, your low, your mid, your high. Each one comes with a compressor. As you can see right here, the low compressor, it's labeled right here as well. Your mid compressor and your high compressor. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start from scratch so you guys can see exactly how I would use it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I keep mine right here. I'm going to bring it down to here. We're going to start from scratch. So right now when you open it, it looks just like this. I'm using it on my 808 track and this is what it sounds like. Now what I'm going to do is we're going to sidechain that to the drums. Click on the low channel, go over here to your compressor. The sidechain is already activated. You just got to input what channel you want to sidechain. So in this case, we're going to sidechain my kicks, which is labeled kicks audio. So we're going to come here, click on it, find kicks audio, connect that. And once we connect that, it's already set up. It already has default settings. So it's already going to get some gain reduction. It's already going to be sidechaining. But we want to go a step further and get the right settings. I'm going to show you how to do that. Check it out. We're going to go over here to the low frequency. And right now it's set at 200 hertz. So everything from 200 hertz to 0 is actually being sidechained. That is being ducked and that is what's being reduced. Right underneath the low frequency range, you have your threshold right here. Now the low threshold, the more negative you go, the more reduction you're going to get. So right now the default setting is negative 12.1. It's a standard setting I have and it's a good place to start. So right now this is what we have. I'm actually going to reduce that a little more so we get some more reduction. That sounds pretty good to me. Now, what we want to do now is we want to utilize this low frequency range. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'm going to click on my drums here. I'm going to go straight to my drums and just solo my drums only. And what I want to do, I want to use my best friend right here, Spectrum. If you're not familiar with Spectrum, it's actually really easy to use. You're going to go to your audio effects, go down to Spectrum, and just drag it on the track. Then you can pull it up. And you can pull it up like this for a wider view. So I'm going to use this right here. And what we're using this for is we want to find the bass where the kick is actually sitting. And we want to find the mountain range and the peak of the kick. So we're going to use Spectrum to find that. So if you look at the graph here, the main section where the base of the kick is, it looks like it tails off about 30 hertz and it tails off again at 130 hertz. So that's exactly what we want to sidechain. We want to sidechain 130 downwards. So we're going to go back to the 808 where our sidechain is living. We're going to go to our low in here. And right now it's at 200, but our kick is living at 130. So let's go ahead and just input 130 and we're going to be good to go. Now what we're doing is sidechaining 130 hertz. So let's see what that sounds like. I'm put on a clap so we get some movement here. It sounds pretty good. And right now the ratio is at 4, which is a good starting point. But for this particular situation, I'm going to put the ratio at infinite. And what that does, it's going to give a lot more gain reduction, and which in turn is going to make our kick more dominant in the mix. Let's listen. That sounds pretty good to me so far. So the only key features we got to worry about is inputting the channel we want to sidechain, adjusting the low frequency range, adjusting the threshold, and adjusting the ratio. Those 4 things right there is what's going to get us a super nice sidechain compression. Now, let's go ahead and sidechain the clap using the mid frequency. It's going to be the same principles and the same functions apply. We're going to input the channel we want to sidechain. In this case, it's going to be the claps right here. So once we get the clap selected, there's already default settings. The sidechain's already activated. So there's going to be some reduction already. Let's see what that sounds like so far. And we can see the reduction right here in the orange where my mouse is at. So let's go ahead and give it some more reduction by turning down the threshold. Again, it's going to be negative. The more negative we go, the more threshold we're going to get. That sounds pretty good to me. I'm going to change the ratio. Let's do a 4:1. Now that sounds pretty good to me. Now, for the mid-range frequency, the way this works is you have your low range here, and right now we have it set at 130. And the high frequency, it starts at 2500 kilohertz. Now, if we change the high frequency to 2000, now the mid-range is changing from 2000 to 130. And if we change the low frequency, say to 250, now your mid-range lives between 250 hertz and 2000 kilohertz. So that's the way the mid-range works. So let's go back to the settings we had. The drums are coming in nicely. They're not interfering with the 808. The claps are coming in nicely, and those aren't interfering with the 808 either. Right now, all the compressors are set to auto. Ableton has a pretty good auto release algorithm going on. I can't even hate on it. But if you want to go a step further, I can show you how to precisely manually set the release. Now, the way we're going to do that is, let's go to the low end here. We're going to turn off the auto release here. And the way I do it is, now I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but if you highlight a MIDI clip or an audio clip, right here in the bottom gives you a time selection. It tells you to start, what part is selected, how long it's selected, and also gives you a duration. And the duration is the part we need. It gives you a timestamp in milliseconds. And that's exactly what we're going to use. So if we go back up to my kick sample, and if we zoom in a little bit, we can see exactly where the most sustained part of the kick is. And it's about right here. Now, if you look at the duration on the bottom, it's 69 milliseconds. We could even go to 74. So we're going to go back to our 808, where the compressor is, go to our low end, go to the release, type in 74, and now we have a release of 74 milliseconds. Now the compressor's release is controlled by 74 milliseconds, exactly the sustained part of the drum we need. So that's going to work out perfect. Let's hear what that sounds like right here. So that sounds pretty good. I'm happy with that. That kick is slapping. The 808 is slapping. We're in business right now. Let's go. Now, some of you guys might be like, yo, Primetyme, why don't you use a regular compressor? Well, let me show you why. If we pull a regular compressor down here and give it the same exact settings, I'm just going to copy these settings real quick. Now I have the settings copied, and I'm going to show you guys so you can hear the difference between a multi-band compressor and a regular compressor. This is the regular compressor here. See, you still have the distortion there, you still have the mid-range, you're not losing no dynamics from your 808. And the whole point of sidechaining is finding the right balance between the kick and the 808 so they mesh together perfectly. Kind of like a marriage, even though a lot of those ain't perfect either. I'm just saying. My point being is this 808 right here, it sounds like a completely different 808, but that's exactly what we want. We want to keep the fullness of the 808. We want to keep the dynamics. We want that distortion. We want that saturation. We want that intact in our mix so everything sounds full and big. So if you just input these 3 to 4 different bass functions in, you'll be set to go in no time. And it's really easy to use. Once you do it a few times, it's really easy. It's a breeze. You run right through it. And now another rack I made a while back I want to show you guys is the mono split Moses. And what we're doing is we're splitting the mono track into 2 parts, hard left and a hard right. So this works great because if your 808 is sitting right in the middle, essentially what this is doing is spreading your kicks far left and far right. So it's not sitting in the middle with the bass and trying to fight for space. So let me show you guys how I use it. So I put it right in the beginning of the processing chain. And right now I have it before an EQ and before my Primetyme drums. And if you don't have the Primetyme drums, you're fucking up. Like if we turn the Primetyme drums off and just play the drums, let's see what it sounds like. With the drums. Woo! Let's go. My neighbors are mad right now. Like how, so without Primetyme drums, with Primetyme drums, yo, my neighbors are mad right now. I'm telling you right now. The extra thump in that just makes that shit, woo, let's go. So back to the mono split Moses. Now, I also used it with 808s when I add distortion or anything like that. So what I do is I keep my 808, I keep it right in mono because that's where you want it. But I'll add distortion by using mono split Moses, and I'm adding it on the sides. Now, when I add the distortion, I'll show you how I do that. So right here, I have a chain called saturation. Should be distortion. So I'm using Waves Berserk for distortion here. Looks like this. I also have another one of my favorites is Fab Filters Pro Q. Then I have my mono split right in front of the first thing in front of the processing. Like I said, I always put it first. Now, what I did was I did a low cut up until about 77 hertz. So I only want to distort 77 hertz onward. And I have a little boost here at 493 hertz. So that's the frequency range I'm distorting. Now, if we solo this, turn the 808 on. So it's going to sound really low because I'm mixing it in with the 808, with the dry signal. The dry signal is the 808 here. Now I'm mixing in the distortion here. So I'll move it up drastically so you guys could hear it a lot more. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing distortion on the side of the 808. And what it's doing is it's giving the 808 a lot more body. It sounds fuller and it's going to sound fat and dynamic in your mix. And we can even go a little more crazier with it if we want to just boost this up. I mean, I'm over exaggerating the drastic amount of distortion I'm putting into it, but what worked for me and what I liked at the time was something about there. Now that's another way to use the mono split Moses. Now, like I said, this is a dope utility tool I use for multiple situations. I find myself using it a lot. Like I said, I use it for vocals. I use it for kicks. I use it for the 808s. I use it for bass lines. I use it on synths. I use it for a lot of different things. But this is great if you want to add some width and still keep a mono signal. So that's what I got for you today. I got the multi-band sidechain compression rack and I got the mono split Moses for you guys. These are both dope racks. They've been game changers in my workflow and I know they'll be game changers for you. So go ahead and download those. There's a link in the description. If there's something I didn't cover, or if you have any questions about anything, go ahead and comment. I'll get back to you right away.